Okay, welcome. I am coming to you live from Galeria Jose Carvajal in Tarapoto, Peru. And as you can see, I have a different background today. And sorry, this piece right here was one of the first of this series. I was photographing in expeditions in the jungles of Peru in the Pacaya Samiria. And I was photographing for a charity organization doing conservation work in this national reserve with the villages. And as we would be in the Peke Peke, going down these like river pathways, deep, deep down in the jungle, and all of a sudden, something started emerging from the shadows, and just something was like, take a picture of that. And then something else would emerge and I'll capture that as well. And I didn't really quite understand but I knew there was something there. And when I went back to the city and started pulling them into Photoshop and really started looking at them, I started like going, wait a minute, there's like a face appearing. There's sort of a form and a body appearing out of there. And so then I really started working with the images. Now, this exhibit is called In the Shadows of the Jungle of Mirrors. I keep wanting to say it in Spanish, En las sombras de la selva de espejos. And the Jungle of Mirrors is the Pacaya Samiria. It's its other name because everything is like a mirror. The water is so black and it's like a mirror. But as I, was really working on this series for a few years, going back into the jungle, still photographing for this organization, but also with this in mind, I began to then work with them in Photoshop. And then I started having my own triggers around them. They're so dark. And I was at this point in my life really in this, I must avoid the dark. The dark is intense, the dark is dangerous, the shadows. And when I look at something and it would make me feel something maybe a little powerful inside, like a little bit of an intense emotion, and I'd be like, and so it was very confronting for me. And little by little, I began to kind of show this work to other people in the United States, not here in Peru. And I guess the people I was showing it to weren't quite knowing how to receive it. And I started to realize, like, wow, people don't see these like I see them. And everybody has their own unique way of approaching this work based on their inner mirror, their inner filter. And so this is all kind of what was germinating really for like 14 years. Now I say 14 years, no, probably more like 12 years, 10 to 12 years. And I did at one point, because I've always had, ever since childhood, kind of issues with criticism. I take it way too personally, and especially with my artwork. My art comes from here. It's a part of me. It represents me, and so I wasn't very secure with myself, so I wasn't very secure with my art and showing my art and putting it out there for somebody to be like, wow, that's great, or what the hell is this shit, Excuse my language. But that was the big fear, and maybe not so conscious, maybe totally under the surface, just kind of driving like how I would approach things. And so I did. At one point, I made a decision, these are just for me, and that's okay. And maybe it was okay just for a little while. But then these started talking to me, these different beings here. And they started saying, Sydney, you need to show us. And I knew I wanted to move to Peru. And I knew I wanted to live in the jungle, in a city in the jungle, which is where I live. And I didn't quite know how I was going to make that happen. And at first I used to stress about it. I'm not living my dream. I'm not doing it. And then I realized, well, there's going to be no way I can figure it out from the United States. I just need to go and take the leap and work with all of this in the process as I take those steps. And finally, I found this gallery a couple years ago. I had already had ideas of where I wanted to show it, but those places closed during the pandemic. And I was like, oh, man. And so then I found this place a couple years ago, and I approached the owner last year, and I showed him this work. And it was the first time, I had shown the work, but people wouldn't really comment on it, for whatever reason. I won't go into why I think. And some people would see it and be like, wow, that's really great. And I'm like, yeah, I think it's pretty great too. But then to have like a gallery owner, an artist, see my work, and another artist as well was with us. And for them to just go, oh my God, this is great. And it just filled me with this amazing feeling of, I don't quite know, but it was just like all my energies, all my guides were like zing, 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 zing. My whole body was zing, 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 zing. And that's how I know I'm on the right path. And for the first time, I'd had that kind of real response, in a long time. I'd had it before, but long time ago, and it was mixed in with a lot of criticism. But now it was like, okay, I'm coming from a healing place, a place where I'm taking care of myself, where I'm not taking things so personally. People are moved by this work. And when I was preparing for this, I really was preparing them with almost like each image is an actual spirit. Because I seriously have been like, they've been talking to me, come on, show us, what are you doing? You're just hiding us away. Nobody's going to see us. What's going on? And so I wanted to present them in the best possible way. And I really feel like I did it. So if you're in Tarapoto, please come to this exposition. It's at the Galeria Jose Carvajal. And connect with me on Instagram at Sydney and the Beast. And you can find all the information there. You can see the different pieces. If you're in the States and you can't make it down to Peru, I understand completely. But you can hop on over to my Instagram, on my Facebook as well. And all of these are available to look at, and as well as to purchase. But I'm also interested in what you see. What does your own mirror see when you look through? And so I had my opening last Friday, and I got to experience just that, watching a whole room of people just look and be mesmerized by the magic inside of each of these, and which ones they were more drawn to, which ones, you know, and then what faces came out to them, what they could see. And I mean, they all have titles based on like what I see, you know. But I really asked them to ignore the titles for now and approach it with fresh eyes, with a fresh perspective, and with an understanding that sometimes, like, maybe some of these are a little dark, you know, and this one too, like, it kind of triggers me a little bit. But there are some faces in there that are kind of like maybe like gargoyle types, you know, guardian types. They might be intimidating, but also powerful, protective. And then I think about my parts and how I have guardian parts inside of me, parts that are kind of like a gargoyle, you know, sitting there protecting the being. And I have some playful parts, parts that are just like a child. And I have like this piece here. Sorry, I'm like trying to, there we go. And to me, she's a very like portal into life and death, is what I see. I see something very sexual in this one as well. As she's like kind of opening up, I see that. That's what I see. And some of them are just kind of like the spirits of the animals of the jungle, and they all have their purposes. And as I try to bring this theme into parts, you know, as I look around here, you know, there's a very mama part in me, like the Leo mama is one of these. This is the Puka Bufeo. You can't see it. It's over there. And that's the pink river dolphin. They just like to play. And there's a part of me that just wants to play, you know? So I think really, you know, these inhabit us as well. So let us begin. Thank you for listening. If you made it through all of that, thank you so much. Let me know if you're here in the comments. I would love to see your presence. I can't see anybody yet, which is fine. And if nobody's here, that's fine too. Please enjoy the replay. And let's just begin by placing one hand on your heart, one hand on your belly, and closing your eyes and just allowing yourself to arrive into the space where you are. And let's go ahead and invite any and all parts of us that want to join us here today. They are all welcome. And let's just give them a moment to arrive. And we do really want to keep reminding ourselves that we are the self, and we are observing all that is going on inside of us. And so with this point of view of the observer, go ahead and place your attention on your breath. And just notice, how are you breathing today? Is it shallow? Is it deep? Does it feel like a juicy breath, or does it feel like it's hard to absorb? And we're just going to observe it. And if there's a part that wants to feel something about it, observe that too. And as we move on from the breath, bring your attention to your physical body and the sensations. And if it feels hard to access, that's okay. Just do the best you can. I know sometimes we might be in a moment of really up in our head. And so we just do the best we can. Now, there might be something that is obviously bothering you. And go ahead and give that some attention and some good focus. Now, for me, I do have a little bit of pain in my mid back, so I'm going to be with this sensation now. And then I always like to check if there's any tension that I might be holding in some joint of mine or in some part of my body. I always like to check my jaw, I like to check my shoulders, the base of my neck, and my back and my belly. I think a lot of women sometimes, we don't realize that we're doing it, but we're holding in our belly. And I like to check my hips and my legs. And if you do find something, just give it a little rating, 1 to 10. 10 being it's very intense, 1 being I barely feel it. And we're just taking a rating so that we're connecting with it just that much more. Because we may have unconscious training to avoid feeling things in our body. And let's move on to the emotions. Now, if there's something really present for you and it feels intense, go ahead and start tapping. Okay? But if you can just keep tuning into your body, what emotion is present for you at this moment? And where do you feel this emotion in your body? We're still taking the point of the observer, which sometimes when we are in a full, intense emotion, that means we're blending with a part of us. And that's okay. Absolutely. It's asking for attention, and that's what we're doing here today. But we're going to just keep getting curious about the emotion and give it as much attention as we can, focusing on where you feel it in your body and what is the sensation. Like, maybe I'm feeling a little anxiety, which is a little bit of fear. And I'm feeling that in my belly. And it feels a little bit constricted, like it's tight. So this also could go into the physical sensation category. And the intensity of my Anxiety, fear is a 4. Okay. 4 came to mind. And that's a subjective number. It's just for you. Mhm. Just to kind of tune in. You can also tune in and see if there's any difference after a round of tapping. And now let's go ahead and check in with which parts are present today and what parts might be associated with maybe some of these emotions you're feeling. If they are associated, sometimes they're not. Sometimes it's another part. So I'll say for me, there's a managing part that's present. This one that wants to like keep me on point, but it's driven by fear. Because if we don't stay on point, then we're going to fall apart. You know, And if we fall apart, then we'll have to feel intense emotions. And if we feel tense emotions, I don't know if we can handle that, even though I know now I can. But in my life, long time ago, I could not. And I also don't want to avoid anything. And so as you tune into which part, just give it a name. This part of me, it feels kind of like this. And then, if that part of you had to say one thing, could express one thing to you, and you're in the position of the observer, you're curious about what your parts feel, okay? Because sometimes the things that they want to say can feel kind of painful, and we might want to choke that down. But we're not going to let it choke down this time. We're going to say it. We're going to say it out loud and allow ourselves to feel whatever comes up. For me, this managing part wants to say, you've let opportunities go in the past. You've missed opportunities in the past. I don't want you to miss out on this one. And that's coming from a little bit of wisdom, but it is kind of coming from a little bit of a fearful place. So I'm just going to be aware of that. And we might have, this happens a lot, especially if there's a wounded part that's present. There are protective parts that want to stand in front, and they might also be present. And so when I do the check in, sometimes I just pick one to work with, the one that seems like it'll be the most of value in this moment. And then as you do another round and another round, you can go into another part and another part. Or I should say, give loving attention, because that's what we're doing in this. We're giving loving attention to our parts, building this relationship with them. So let's just take a moment to get a little grounded. If your feet are on the ground, actually, that doesn't matter. When I do my grounding meditation, sometimes I'm like, oh my God, I'm not touching the ground. And so I do like to go, but I am connected by the force of gravity to this planet. I am not going to float away. I can feel the force of gravity in my body connecting me to the energy of this planet. And just take a moment to feel what gravity feels like in your body. and if there are any sensations that arise from it. And let's move on to the air that surrounds us. As you take a breath in, just know that that breath, you don't even have to think about it, and it is life-giving. It is life-supporting breath. And it's easy and it's effortless. And now bring your attention to the space above your head, not inside your head, but above your head. And imagine that there is a stream of consciousness, of guidance and intelligence that with just your focus alone, you can tap into. And the more that we practice connecting to this stream, opening ourselves up to receiving information and trusting, the more we are open to guidance along our path here on this planet, as well as intelligent creation. Now bring yourself back into your body by rubbing your fingers along your body, opening your eyes. And when you're ready, you know what? I need a little sip of water. Water is necessary for life too. Coming to the side of the hand, and let us begin. So if you're new to tapping, just follow along with me. And as you get a better practice and a better concept of what we're doing here with tapping, then you can start bringing in your own words, changing things to resonate more with you. But in the beginning, you're going to be really challenging your subconscious mind at times, and that's okay. We're working on repatterning, retraining old habits of thinking. And we're balancing the nervous system while we do it to let us know that we're safe. I am giving loving attention to myself today because I choose to love and accept myself as I am. I am giving loving attention to what I am feeling in my body and all emotions that are present, because I honor what I am feeling. I am giving loving attention to all parts of me who are asking for attention here today. And I'm learning how to pay better attention to these parts of me so that they don't need to take me over all the time. I want to gain the trust of my parts because I deeply and completely love, honor, and accept myself and all parts of me exactly as we are. Coming to the first point on the eyebrow, I'm giving loving attention to the physical sensations in my body. Side of the eye. Go ahead and say what those physical sensations are. And if there's a whole list of them, let's just start with one or two. Under the eye. And go ahead and say, what is the sensation like? So, like this pain in my back is sort of radiating, feels like it's spreading. Under the nose. And go ahead and say, what number on the scale of intensity does it feel? 1 to 10, 10 being the most. For me, it feels like a 5 out of 10. On the chin. And maybe I have some training in me to avoid or numb the sensations in my body. Collarbones. But I'm learning there are benefits to connection with the sensations in my body. And that maybe there's some really intelligent information in this energy in my body. Under the arms, because that's what all of these physical sensations are. They are energy moving or being blocked in my body. Top of the head. And I'm opening to the possibility. No, excuse me. And these physical sensations are part of being human. And I'm choosing to open to the possibility that I chose to have this experience. Back to the eyebrow point. And I'm giving loving attention to these emotions that are present today. Side of the eye. And go ahead and say which emotions those are. And so for me, it was a little bit of anxiety, which is fear. Under the eye. And go ahead and say, how strong is the feeling? 1 to 10. So for me, it was a 4 out of 10. Under the nose. And say where you feel it in your body. I feel it in my belly. And say what it feels like. It feels like constriction, tightness, blocking energy. To the chin. And maybe I have some training in me to avoid uncomfortable emotions or judging them as bad or wrong. to the collarbones. And I'm opening to the possibility that my emotions are indications from parts of me. And maybe this is the only way they know how to get my attention. Under the arm. And my emotions are energy. Top of the head. And my emotions are part of this human experience. And I'm considering accepting that I chose to have this experience. Back to the eyebrow point. And I'm giving loving attention to these parts of me that are asking for my attention. Side of the eye. And go ahead and say which parts are asking for your attention today. So for me, it's my managing part. Thinks if I keep the order, then I won't feel like a failure, which is a really uncomfortable thing to feel. Under the eye. And the emotion that comes with that is fear. Go ahead and say what emotion is connected to this part. Fear and maybe a little bit of sadness too. Sometimes when we start seeing one, then we start seeing another is underneath. Under the nose. And go ahead and say out loud what this part wants to express. I don't want you to miss out on this opportunity. I don't want it to pass us by. On the chin. And maybe I have training in me to judge these parts of me and call them bad. On the clavicles. But actually, these parts of me are just trying to keep me safe. And they too were trained into these roles. Under the arm, and I'm open to the possibility that actually they had more creative roles before they took this on. And I'd like to get to understand them, get to know them a little better. Top of the head, because these parts of me are part of this journey and this human experience, which I came here to do and to have. Take a breath in and bring your hands to your heart. Close your eyes. And allow yourself to tune in to any kind of message or image or memory that's coming up. And if you need a longer moment, please pause. And so if something came up for you, you can do another round and just keep going at it with your own words. And really try to, let's say, for example, it's a memory. And as long as it's not too intense and you feel okay going into it yourself, and you feel okay with if it is intense, sometimes it is intense and we can handle the intensity, but sometimes we can't, and that's okay. And if it doesn't feel intense, go ahead and just keep tapping. You don't have to say the words right. Just say what's going on in the memory and try and keep tuning in to what you're feeling in your body. And maybe if there are any emotions that you're able to tap into. And if it feels like you're just not getting anywhere with it, that's when working with somebody like myself or any of my colleagues can be extremely beneficial. Now, before this show went up, I had 2 weeks of only receiving. And I was receiving sessions and working with the same parts that I work with on my own, but working with them with somebody else, with somebody else's perspective, with somebody else's questions that I don't think to ask, and also with the attention of somebody else. When somebody is giving you their attention and holding space, no longer are you spinning in your own head about it, you know, which when we do the tapping, it really does resolve a lot of the physical, energetic stuckness, anxiety, but sometimes we can't quite break through because we can still only see things from our perspective. And having somebody's attention grasping on to what we're saying, it then gives what you're saying a place to go that is outside of you. And I find this extremely beneficial. And for this show in particular, I had a lot of aha moments and memories that unlocked that I just wasn't unlocking them on my own. And I really was able to unlock them because somebody else that I'm working with is also receiving guidance from her guides and going, something's coming to me right now. And I don't know if this resonates, but, and then they would say it and I'd feel it like, I never thought about it like that. Or I would just, instead of spinning on one perspective of mine, the theme had a place to go, and it made room for new things to come up. And I'm not going to say that I know exactly how it works. All I know is that when you're open to it, it does work. And tapping on its own, just tapping on physical sensations and emotions you're feeling and really sticking with what it is that you're feeling and tapping and allowing that feeling to come up and through and be processed and moved through your body, move through your energetic centers. This is studied, and it is an evidence-based practice that has a lot of positive percentages of people receiving positive results. My own life has changed completely. Now, I also work with plant diets, and I work with ayahuasca, and I work with tapping. I have several tools. Tapping isn't my only tool. And if you're watching this, you probably have several tools too. You're open to watching videos on transformation. These are very helpful to receiving, guidance from somebody else's perspective. This is helpful. But there's something about tapping where it's you transforming your energy. It's you working with your own energy. And I'd done a lot of work with somebody saying, like, I am an energy healer, which actually I didn't stick with them for too long because I've always had it trained in me. You know, I was raised knowing that my spirit is powerful. And your spirit is powerful. Everybody comes with a spirit and is powerful, much more powerful than the human mind, but we can use the mind to amplify things for creative purposes on this planet. And if that sounds resonant with you, I would love to have a conversation with you. If there's something in your life that you would like to try out tapping, try out the one on one work, I would love to just meet up with you at first, see if we're a good fit, you know, and if it's not necessarily a good fit for like what I do with personal transformation and working with the inner wounded child, as well as like overcoming the avoidant protectors inside. I do a lot of work with my parts. I've also overcome addictions like smoking cigarettes. I smoked cigarettes for 25 years. And with tapping, I was able to let go of that and many other addictions and not replace them with other addictions and stay in the observant place when something does want to trigger, you know, a pleasure seeking action. I go, I'm aware that this is happening right now. And this is a muscle that we practice. Okay. Now, I hate to say training because people, the second you say, oh, is it training? They're like, oh, I don't want to train. But it is a practice. And once you start the practice, and it can just be little by little, you don't have to do a lot at first. I know that my protectors were very like suspicious, skeptical. What is this new weird thing? Tapping. Well, I better do this in the closet. I don't want anybody to see me. But then I started like really feeling the difference. And I started accessing parts of myself in new, real, defining ways. And I never knew how to love myself before. And I learned how to love myself and care for myself and check in with myself. So that's why I hope that these videos are helpful for you. If you've made it to this point, thank you for watching. I know this was a long one, and I hope that you were able to get something out of it. And message me here or on Instagram or on Facebook. And let's get the conversation started. I like doing Zoom calls face to face so that we can meet in a semi-real way. Feels more real. Thank you for joining. See you next week.